Okay, so I'm going to talk about HF mobile contesting, and it's primarily about contesting in state QSO parties. And the presentation should last about 20 or 30 minutes. And I have my van set up out in the parking lot that you may have seen, and we can go out there after the meeting's over, and I can show you the ins and outs of it out there as well. Okay, here's an overview of the presentation. It's going to start with a short intro about me, about what state QSO contesting is all about. QSO party contesting, the advantages of entering as a mobile in these contests, a little about the equipment setup for mobile contesting, how to lay out a mobile route for a contest, how I prepare for one of these events, and then I'm going to talk about the 2021 Florida QSO Party. That was the last mobile contest that I did. And then a little bit about keys to success in mobile contesting. And I was just kind of curious, how many folks here actually do some contesting now and then? It's about a third, I think. And how many do CW contesting? About the same amount of people. And how many people here? Yeah, and how many people here know CW or operate CW at all? Okay, yeah, Morse code. Yeah, so it's not that many, unfortunately. But when I do these contests, I operate 100% CW. Here's a picture of the vehicle we use for contesting. It's a 2000 Montana van. It has almost 300,000 miles on it now, but still going strong. And this photo's from the Texas QSO Party in 2010. It's out at Palo Duro Canyon, which is out by Amarillo, and it's the second biggest canyon in the U.S., in case you're interested. I've been hamming since 1972, and I live in Thompson Station. And my wife, Melody, who is also a ham. She's KI4HVY, and she was supposed to be here, but her flight home from Massachusetts was canceled yesterday, so she couldn't make it. And she's a key player in these contests. She's my trusted driver and navigator, and she's pretty much a driving machine. And I've operated many modes over the years. I do some DXing, did satellites for a while, digital modes, meteor scatter, moon bounce, those kind of things. Started contesting 20 years ago. Started contesting with exclusively RTTY, and then as my CW speed came up, I started doing CW contesting, and that's all I do now. Two of my fellow Tennessee contest group members, Don N4ZZ, who lives in Nashville, and Ted W4NZ in Chattanooga, they're the ones that kind of twisted my arm to start doing mobile contesting, and it's been a lot of fun. I haven't looked back. It's a good sport. And so far to date, I've done 30 mobile QSO parties. Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, I usually do as multi-op with Don and Melody driving. And then Texas, Florida, and Illinois, I do single op with Melody driving. And just before we leave the house on these contests, we usually take a group picture like this. And Melody makes these little placards here. We ended up taking first place in this contest in Georgia in 2011. And this is where we ended the contest in Georgia, in the northwest corner of the state. That's after 850 miles and 20 hours of multi-op. Okay, this is a quick overview of what state QSO parties are all about. Every year, just about every state has a contest they call a QSO party. Some states combine and do them as a group, like the New England QSO Party and the 7QP event, which is the 7th call area states get together and have their QSO party. In these contests, there's two major classifications. There's in-state operations and out-of-state. And the difference is the in-state stations, which is hosting the QSO party, they can work everybody that's in the contest. DX stations, Canada, North America. Out-of-state stations can only work hams that are located in the QSO Party state. Most people operate QSO parties from home, but there are some of us that do it mobile. Some events are one day, like the Tennessee QSO Party, which is a 9-hour contest on Sunday, and others are 2-day events. And some are really popular, and they offer nice prizes like lobster dinners for the New England QSO Party and bottles of wine for California, and there's a lot of nice plaques that other states give out. There's a lot of different categories. You can operate CW only, single sideband. You can do mixed of both. Some go mobile, some go portable, where you actually set up a tent somewhere, and usually on a county line. Operate from there. Multi-op operations, QRP, etc. And scoring, it's usually the number of QSOs you have times a multiplier. And the multiplier is varied depending if you're in-state or out-of-state. If you're in-state, it's going to be the number of states that you work, the number of provinces, and the number of DX stations you work. That's typical. And if you're out-of-state, it's the number of QSO Party counties you work. So if I'm in Florida doing a contest and you're here in Tennessee, you're going to want to try to work as many counties in Tennessee as possible if you're here. It's a great way to get started in contesting. It's not too busy and there's not much stress. If you're not very fast on CW, the stations will slow down and work at your speed. And you don't need a super station to score well and win prizes. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay, here's a picture in Florida. This is Melody driving up front, and on the windshield here you can see it's splattered with love bugs. They were really bad that year. It was right here. Whoops. You can see here's the GPS up here she uses. There's one up here too, and there's instructions for the route down here, which I'll cover a little bit. And then here's my radio. It's a 7610. I have this wooden table in the van, and here's the PC keyer. That's the setup I use. Okay, so you might ask, why do you want to do mobile in a state QSO party? Well, there's two big advantages. The first one's the in-state advantage. All out-of-state stations will want to work just your state, and they might need your county as a multiplier. So it kind of makes you popular if you're in the state. You work a lot more people in state than you do out-of-state typically. And there's even a bigger mobile advantage. Every time that we enter a new county, we can work everybody all over again. And if it happens to be a rare county, then I'm going to have a lot of people trying to find me. Huge pileups are common, especially when just entering a new county. It's kind of like being rare DX, but without having to leave the country. And as a mobile, it's possible to average 150 to 200 QSOs per hour for the whole contest. And some 5 to 10 minute spurts, you can get up to over 300 QSOs an hour, which is about 5 or 6 a minute. And for a contester, that can be a big adrenaline rush. And I looked up adrenaline rush yesterday, and I found out that adrenaline rush can actually sharpen your hearing. So the faster you go, the better you hear, apparently. It gets pretty intense sometimes. Here's a picture of me operating in the Texas QSO Party in 2018. Okay, now a little bit about my setup. Like I said before, I use a ICOM 7600. I like it because it has good noise reduction and blanking. The antennas are Hustler verticals, and I use the ones that have the 55-inch masts with interchangeable coils on top. And then for 40 and 80 meters, I put a capacitive top hat on top. HP laptop, and I use N1MM Logger for the contesting software. It has nice features for mobiles. Makes it real easy to change counties. Homebrew interface for CW and push to talk. Iambic paddles, I use a keyer for that. Noise canceling headphones are very important. I use an old pair of Bose QC15s. The GPS we use is a Garmin DriveSmart 65. It's a fairly large GPS, as you'll see when we go outside. Nice thing about the DriveSmarts is you can download the route into the GPS, and it'll have all the county line crossing locations programmed so that the GPS tells you when you enter a new county. It's pretty handy. I use APRS, so our location is sent out on APRS. I use my Samsung phone. There's an application called APRS Droid that will send out your position on APRS via cell phone. And good grounding is really important. I've had problems with grounding in the past. It caused a lot of issues, but I finally got that resolved. And for power, I use 10-gauge wire from the vehicle battery to a West Mountain rig runner with power poles. Okay, here's a picture of two of the antennas. These are the 55-inch masts right here, and that's the coil for 40 meters, and then that's the capacitive top hat I was talking about. And the total height of this is 13 feet on 40 meters. And what I do to make it shorter is that this is a 30-meter coil with the top hat. It still resonates on 40 meters, but it's about a foot shorter. So on 80 meters, I do something similar. I use a 60-meter coil with a larger top hat. It shortens down to 13.5 feet. So right now, this is how I have it set up for the daytime. I usually have two in the front, two coils in the front. I operate 15 and 20 in the front one and 40 in the back. And then at night, I'll replace the front one with an 80-meter vertical. Here's the interfacing between the radio and the computer. This is a 2-port USB to serial converter. This is the ICOM level converter, CT17, and this is a homebrew interface for PTT and CW. This one sends the frequency data to the computer. This is the power distribution. This is the rig runner right here. This is the power line that goes to the battery. This is a 12 to 120 volt AC power inverter, and this is the power supply I use for a laptop computer. These inverters are very noisy. They create a lot of RF interference, and they have loud fans in them. So I don't use this anymore since I got this real quiet power supply for the PC here. Grounding is really important. This is a 2-inch copper strap that goes to one of the seat belt bolts that goes into the frame of the car. This is another grounding point right here. This is the upper seat belt attachment point for the seat belts. This goes to the radio and then up to the top of the vehicle, to the antenna. Okay, this is a picture of the top of the van. This part right here, that's the aluminum roof rack that's part of the van. And I've got these signposts, galvanized steel, that go across sideways like this, and they're clamped on with saddle clamps to the roof rack. And the antenna is supported with Dacron ropes and carabiners here, so I can do a quick antenna change when the time comes. The base of the antenna is on its little aluminum plate here. And on these foam pool noodles are used to cut down on wind noise. When we're going 70 on the highway, there's quite a bit of noise that was generated by these cross members, and by putting these noodles under here, it took care of the problem. And this is how I ground part of the grounding system. There happens to be these little bolts that hold the roof rack on that were real handy for attaching the ground point. Okay, now this is about planning the route. It's the first step of mobile contesting. Got to review the rules of the contest. It makes a difference in how you plan the route. Each state has slight rule variations. Some count multipliers per band. Some allow you to park on a county line and work 2 counties at once. Some allow 80 meters, some don't. Some use counties as multipliers for in-state ops. Some counties, if you're in, like, I think Illinois is one of them. If you work at another county in Illinois, that counts as a multiplier as well. Laying out an exceptional route is critical to getting a top score, and it takes a lot of time to lay out the optimum route. Sometimes I spend over 40 hours on planning the route before the contest. And the more counties there are in a state, the longer it takes. For example, Florida has 67 counties, Tennessee 95, Texas has 254 counties. It's the most of any state. So the Texas one is a tough one to lay out. When laying out the route, I want to try to make it so I operate from as many counties as possible, especially those counties that there's no other operators scheduled to operate. Before the contest, there's usually a listing on the contest website that shows which operators are going to operate from what counties. So you know which counties are the rarest. Optimum time to operate mobile is 15 to 20 minutes. After about 15 minutes, the QSO rates start to drop off. And when it's possible, I like to drive through the corner of a county and stop and wait stationary and then leave again. It's a lot easier to operate when you're not moving than when you're moving on the highway. If allowed, if you find the county line locations where it makes sense, you want to pick the best roads, which helps stay on schedule. It's a lot easier to operate when you're not being jarred around in the back seat. There's less trees to catch the antenna on the better roads. We always try to find a nice location to start and end because we like to take vacations before the contest and afterwards. It's a motivational thing for Melody especially. And avoid big cities because that's where you often get stuck in traffic, and that's a bummer when that happens. This is a map of Texas that shows our routes in the 2020 contest last year. And you can see we started in the northeast corner of the state here. That's where there's the smallest, mostly densely packed counties. And then the red is Saturday, and then Sunday we go up and drive up to Amarillo and end up in the Panhandle. Here's a close-up of Saturday's route. Started right here. These counties are fairly small. They take about 10 minutes here. This might be 15 minutes. And then you can see here's a really short county to go through. So there's a wait point here. We drive up, we wait here for I don't know, about 10 minutes, and then we take off and leave that county. And here's a county at the end of Saturday, and this is a place where we can operate 3 counties at once. So you can get pretty high rates when you're operating, when I send my exchange with 3 counties in it. In preparing for the contest, I use Google Maps and Google Earth to lay out the initial route. And then a piece of software that Garmin makes called Basecamp, and I can use that to compute how long it takes to travel through each county, and I can fine-tune the route that way. And I repeat this process until I find the optimum route, and then I produce the following. I make an Excel spreadsheet that has all the details of the route laid out. I'll show you what that in a second. Shows the time in each county, where the wait times are going to be, where to get gas, where to swap antennas, that kind of stuff. I also generate a list of all the county line crossing times, and that's posted on QRZ, on my web page, County Hunters, and QSO Party websites. and I create a KML file that's used for APRS and also for a map on my QRZ.com, and then I download this route to the Garmin GPS. Okay, contest preparation. I use a checklist to make sure I have all the items I need on the trip. I set up and test all the radio equipment, software, and antennas before the contest. Usually about a week before, I get everything set up and make sure I don't have any issues. Finalize the goals and the plans and goals, and then I review the previous results. I keep a log of what happened on the previous contest and make adjustments for the following year. I review the route with Melody. I use Google Earth ground view so she can actually see the stopping locations and county line markers, tricky navigation spots, etc. And another thing I do to prepare is I work on my CW copying speed and typing. I participate in the Wednesday CW Ops regularly, and I use Morris Runner to help memorize partial calls. When you get the big pileups, you usually only get a couple characters of the call sign, so if you can memorize those, like if somebody hears EB, there's a good chance they might know it's AD4EB. So you try to memorize partial calls. And I also use RoughZ, which is another practice program. And that one, it sends a call, you type that call. If you get it right, it goes faster and faster and faster and builds your speed up that way. And then I make sure the van's ready for another long trip. Okay, so this is from Google Earth, and it shows how I review the route with Melody before the contest. So I show her this picture here. Here's the county line map, and this is where we're going to park. So she knows before we get there what it's going to look like, and it's very helpful. In this case, this was a really short county, so we pulled in here, and then we had an 18-minute wait before we left the county. Okay, this is about the 2021 Florida QSO Party. That was the last contest that we did. It was 2 days, 10 hours each day, and it was held the last weekend of April. And it's considered one of the premier state QSO parties. I think it is the biggest QSO party. It has the biggest number of people involved. And we entered the Florida QSO Party as a single op CW with driver. And we ended up, this year ended up in first place with 3,100 contacts, 66 multipliers, and a score of 811,000. And the all-time high score for the Florida QSO Party was by Chris Blake back in 2013, NX4N, 865. So I just missed beating that record. So that was in 2019. So the goal for this year was to have a nice vacation with Melody, of course, in Florida, and try to break the Florida all-time record. Try to beat the 865,000 QSOs. And the plan was to improve the route a little bit, to work more DX stations as multipliers, work on my CW speeds. I got a new GPS with a bigger screen, which should help with navigation, and a faster PC. My old PC got bogged down at the high rates, sending CW. So here's the planned route, 1,006 miles total. The red is Saturday here. We start up by Jacksonville, stay overnight in Tampa, and then this is the route for Sunday. Total of 49 counties. This is the Excel instruction sheet that I was talking about. This has all the turn instructions that the Garmin will give. So basically it follows what the GPS will be saying as we do the route. And these are each county. The 40 is Liberty County, and the abbreviation is LIB. That's what's used in the contest, and what N1MM uses for the contest name. And these are the times, the schedule we want to keep to. And this is how long we're in each county. So Liberty County, 15 minutes. Calhoun County, 28 minutes. Bay County, 19 minutes. And I have notes on here like the time zone changes here, so we have a different clock for that time zone. This is a wait location. Wait at the local park on the right for 7 minutes. This is where we get gas. It has those kind of instructions in it. We try to keep as close to that as possible. Here's the county line crossing times I was talking about. These are all the counties that we enter in the contest, and this is the time, 1600 Zulu. We start in Duval County. And this is posted on QRZ. And the DX stations really like this a lot because they need to work me first before the big pileup starts. So when I enter a new county, like at 12:12, I'll have a lot of stations waiting at 12:12 for me to enter that county, and they'll call me at the very first. This is a picture of what APRS.FI looks like. So you can pull this up on your computer and you can monitor me or track me as I go through the contest. And that route is in red here with the waypoints. Okay. And then this is the actual, it's cyan with the red dots. So every time the road makes a deviation or a specified time, it puts a red dot there. So a lot of stations will track me on here, and they know that I just entered the contest. There's going to be a big pileup. There's no reason to work me there. I might want to wait 10 minutes and then try to work me when I'm down here when it's not quite as busy. And here's the results of the Florida QSO Party this year. It was a big success, our best mobile performance ever. The first goal was met. We had a really great vacation in Amelia Island in Northeast Florida. Then we had another vacation on the Alabama Gulf Coast after the contest. And we did break the all-time single op record. We ended up with 3,400 QSOs. And that will probably be a new single op QSO record for mobile contesting. And 68 multipliers and a total score of 932 should be the new score. They do, at the end of the contest, everybody sends their logs in to the contest directors, and they do cross-checking to make sure that all your contacts were legitimate. And that takes sometimes 6 to 9 months. So they're doing the log checking right now. Melody did a great job driving and navigating us for the 1,006 miles. She kept us right on schedule, often to the minute, and the only problems we had was near Orlando where we got stuck in traffic for a while. We had to cut some counties short in order to catch back up. And the love bugs weren't too bad. A high score was helped because we had plenty of short skip on 20 meters and only worked 16 DX, which was a little bit low. I think COVID may have helped also because I think a lot of people were still staying at home quite a bit. Florida hams really appreciate Melody's participation in this contest. And Jeff N4RKK, he posted a sign on one of the overpasses that said, "Thank you, Melody." And unfortunately, we didn't see the sign, but he sent us an email showing that where it was. So it says, "Thank you." This is a graph showing the hourly rates. And the first hour was the best hour because we operated 2 counties at once. And then the rest of it averaged about 172 an hour. And I have an audio clip. Those that know CW can probably copy some of this. But this is what it sounds like doing about 300 QSOs a rate an hour. It's about 5 a minute. So I'll go ahead and play that. And here's the exchange that takes place. This is from the N1MM log. So I'll call CQ contest, and then I'll start getting calls back. And when somebody calls me back, I send their call sign, the signal report, and what county I'm in, Hardeman County in this case. And they'll send me a signal report and their state or country or province. And then I'll say thank you, and then I'll get another string of calls. So I'll play a few of these so you can hear it. So that's what it sounds like. It's pretty crazy. Okay, here's the keys to our success. Preparation, excellent routes, lots of CW practice, everything worked flawlessly. We had focus is one of the keys. We ran the entire 20-hour contest with very few breaks, maximized BIC. And Melody was focused on the road, of course, keeping us safe and on schedule. Teamwork. I couldn't do these contests without Melody's support and encouragement. And I don't know too many wives out there that would drive their husbands for 1,000 miles to play on the radio. And support. Getting a big score requires a lot of participants, and the Florida contest group really knows how to draw a crowd. They put on the biggest and best QSO party in the country. And fun. Working one big pileup after another is exhilarating and great fun. Looking forward to doing a lot more in the future. And that's the end. This is a picture at the end of the Florida QSO Party. She just drove 1,006 miles and ended up with 3,400 contacts. That's it. Any questions? Yes.
What's your take on the optimal CW speed for doing this? Did I mention Tennessee Contest Group and the Tennessee QSO Party?
Yeah.
And tnqp.org is the website. You can sign up for counties and see which ones are already taken.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mobile contesting is pretty high speed because there's pretty good rates involved there. But the optimum speed is probably somewhere between 13 and 20 words a minute. Most people operate in that range. But if you call CQ at a slower speed, like if you call around 10 or something like that, people will come back to you and then they'll slow down to your rate. After I work these big pile-ups, I'll slow my rate down to maybe 20 words a minute, and then I'll work the operators that can't copy at that speed. That's 40 words a minute is really fast, and a lot of people can't copy it.
What are you doing for anything in regards to Logbook of the World?
Well, it's kind of tricky. I post all my QSOs on Logbook of the World, but the problem with doing the mobile contests,
you have so many grid scores you're going through.
Yeah.
On the main edge grid score, that it's hard to probably log all that.
Yeah, I can't get the grid scores in there. It doesn't really, it's hard to get the counties in too, because it always wants to put me in Tennessee, Thompson Station, Williamson County. So I don't post my QSO parties on Logbook of the World because it's too much work. So people that want QSLs, they'll send me a card with all the counties that they worked me in, and then I just got to sign my name and send it back. Yeah. That's a good question. Anybody else? Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.